Well, that's the end of our old deck. Today, we'll build a new deck and a patio in this backyard setting, as well as extend the side yard, and then top it all off with a designer's landscape. Now you might ask, why tear off an old deck just to put a new one on? Well, we are going to make this one a little bit larger, but in the south with the extreme weather, the heat and moisture and seasonal raining, well, wood just doesn't last like it should or could. So we're going to come back with a composite material that should last for a long, long time. And you see the old design here. We have a couple goals in mind. The homeowner had a step or a little landing to get up and in out of the living area or living space here. What we want to do is raise this deck height to floor height almost inside, so that the transition from inside to out is going to be much easier. And then the only place you have to work hard is at the steps, getting down to the ground. Our existing deck was 12 by 18. We're going to expand that 14 by 24. We will maybe have a set of steps on that side, but the main goal is to have a double wide, like a 6-foot wide step that comes down onto a paver patio that's got a French curve designed to it, so that everything is not so stiff and rigid. If you go back and look at a before shot, we removed the azaleas and now we've removed the deck. So again, we're opening things up. Our subfloor, the base of it will be built with pressure treated wood. The composite goes on top to kind of cover and shield, and this will be out of the weather, whereas the top decking, rails and all that, steps will be exposed to the weather. That's where the product comes in handy. We've spent a couple days prepping and cleaning, and we've still got a little ways to go here on the side yard. A homeowner took out some pine trees and all, and so we're opening this up and really expanding the lawn area here. With the privacy fence, in other words, they own all the way to here. There was a fence that separated this natural area from the lawn, and we'll come in with a little privacy hedge to build that look back and keep them secure. Now, before we irrigate or bring in our lawn, we really need to fill in some of the depressed areas. So we've got 5 loads of good clean sand, some fill dirt to bring in, and we're waiting for that any minute. As soon as it arrives, this will even change. Well, I'm warming up my paint and paint gun here as I really get ready to show you some ideas we have for this lower deck and walkway. Interesting to note here, the original deck came somewhere in here, and so we've extended it an extra 4 feet, and the hose bib, what used to be out off the deck, is now on the patio. So that's kind of interesting. I mean, it is what it is. We'll see how that plays out. Well, being on the left side here by the house, we thought, again, we'd have 2 ways of getting off or getting on our upper deck. And so a couple steps down here to get us to the ground. Well, we've got a brick picked out, a paver, that we want to install in here. So with the steps coming down, let me show you what we're going to do as far as a little walkway that will join us back to the main patio here. This will remain landscaping. So we'll have a transition for the upper deck with plants that kind of gets us onto the ground. Now the back line here is simple. The fact that we'll have about a 4-foot wide walkway here and our continuous brick that will link these steps to our main patio all the way around. Now what's interesting to note here, as the brick paver patio kind of curves with a radius, we're going to have steps coming down here. These will be double wide, I mean like about 6 feet wide. And I drew a square pattern, but I think what I'd like to do is tilt or 45 these. See, the steps, we'll install our patio first, the paver patio, and the steps will be built coming down onto it. So I don't want the steps to encroach so much of the surface area. Ideally though, maybe we can move them back and tilt them at an angle so that we have this presentation view. Well, this radius continues in one big circle or arch. I'm sure this is not a perfect circle. And I just kind of let the paint gun hang off my arm, if you will. You can see we're going to remove the unwanted turf grass. I'd measured this off before. Got about an 18-foot radius. The steps will take up a little space, but this is going to be plenty for the furniture. And now, instead of cluttering the upper wood deck, it's going to be down here in the patio that again, you've got plenty of room for. And then we'll take this line, continue it, and draw it back to our sidewalk. So what we have here is one continuous flow from one step to the next onto the patio. Now, when it comes to landscape, I've got a tree behind me, bird baths, some yard art, a couple bird feeders, and another tree. Let's group all that together in a planting bed. So I'll come around the tree and have a new line here. See, one curve kind of helps complement another, the curved shape of the patio. So we'll have grass in here, and then we're taking all these objects, a couple trees, and making them a bed. Well, we've got to remove the turf to even get ready for our patio or brick paver installation. Why don't we go to the front yard? We've had some frost or freeze damage. Let's show how we're going to perk that up. The homeowners here will have a social function at this location, so we want to put our best foot forward. Well, our St. Augustine grass that's existing has gone through a frost or a freeze, so it's burnt off and brown up top. Behind me, we'll be installing new, fresh turf grass that comes from the south, and it'll be green. So we need to blend those two together so they're visually appealing. We'll put an application of ryegrass down here in order to really make a uniform covering. The old and the new will be nice and green. Now, we've asked the homeowner to come in and set his mower at a very low setting, and he's done that, almost to scalp, but to get the old frost stuff off. So we'll put some ryegrass down, and in 7 to 10 days, 2 weeks, we'll be green again. Friends, what I want you to take note of is that this is a commercial grade spreader. You can already tell by the size of it. It held about half, a little over half of that 50-pound bag of rye. The large wheels you see for easy rolling. Now we've got a bigger gear, a bigger plate, so we can expect a 20-foot swath or so. Now with ryegrass, it's a little bit light, so you might not get that, but if you're serious about your fertilization, or if you have a large lawn that you do regularly, this could be a good investment. This is what is called a cyclone or rotary spreader rather than a drop spreader. And what you'll find is that your speed controls your throw. When you go into a smaller area, you want to slow down. And in open areas, you can go faster. Now, I'm trying to go around this tree in a uniform pattern. I don't want to throw too much seed up under there. You really kind of have to be conscientious of where your right side is going, so when you come back, you'll be able to line up to that. See, a drop spreader, boy, it shows every line that you hit or miss. The rotary gives you some room for forgiveness. See, and once I've cut in my line, I can kind of let things rip, if you will. And watch how, as I increase my speed, again, the volume of distribution increases as well as the swath or path. Now, for those tight-knit areas, you may have to do a little hand treatment. Just getting in these little odd spaces, making sure you got it all the way to the edge. And another thing, you'll need to sweep or blow the ryegrass off the sidewalks. It'll germinate wherever it is, but that'll give us a nice green up. And like we said, things will look uniform. Well, a lot has been going on. We've sodded the right part back here behind me, and the ryegrass has germinated also, so it's given us that uniform green that we were looking for. We kept a road open here for access to do our pavers and get a delivery for our decking material. Now we're ready to finish that. As you see, New sod has arrived for that. Come on in the back, let me show you what's transpiring. What do you think? What a beautiful patio. The pavers here, we used a blend of 3 colors, like a taupe, tan with a little bit of cream there. You see the little blend. And look, the homeowners added this little bird bath, but it picks up the hue. Very nice. Now another thing too, with the radius, again, we're trying to accent or smooth the stiff or square corners that we have on the deck. This is one way to do it. But the walkway that comes around here to the other steps, as John builds those, they're going to make a lot of sense. The steps here, like we mentioned, and then a broad step, double wide, coming down onto the main part of the patio. We've come in with some sand and backfilled in here. We want to decorate these corners of the deck here. We'll have skirting on this front side all the way down, but we'll use taller and smaller plants to kind of achieve that. Close to you, we'll have turf grass that'll join from the patio out into the lawn. Okay, and then I don't know if you remember when I just drew these lines, but we've come and outlined our turf grass here. So all this will turn green in just a moment. And we've grouped these 2 trees and added an East Palatka holly. The thing about these specimens are, you see the wood trunk, but really no canopy effect. So adding this tree, this ornamental tree or patio impression, gives us some foliage, some height, and some enclosure to the patio or deck itself. Well, I like the way these curves are working up. Remember, we talked about entering the lawn there, entering the lawn here, and then we'll have also a broad space to get out onto the lawn with a little bed here, just a low impression. And then we'll also be adding plants to soften, like we said, where the steps come down and really outline the radiuses. Now, I don't want to think of this as a different decorative bed than here. We can try to take the opportunity to cross into these places so that we combine a planting that moves over the sidewalk into the yard. Well, next, let me grab some sod and we'll go ahead and make this green. Now I've got 2 3-gallon varieties, what we'll call a medium, the Laura petalum, and a dwarf shrub, the fashion azalea. This has a shrimp kind of coral color, and this a magenta, almost a purple. And so I want to use both of these, but I'm going to try to separate them because they don't really work that well together. And I'll try to use that to anchor, make some impression. And then I've got some Aztec grass and a couple other lower things, even a little daisy that's going to add some color to the deck here. Friends, I got to tell you, I love my job. Now this is the fun part, when we start to bring things really kind of toward a conclusion. To have a feel for this deck, remember they originally had a step down, a little 1 step at the door. Now it does appear a little high out of the ground, but we've raised it up and it's an extension of their living space. 1 flat level, and that'll help them to enjoy it and really ensure safety from going in and out of the door. I have set up the Laura petalum across the walk. Remember I talked about making this like a little gate that the walkway would go through. And so with some Aztec grass, by the way, friends, I wouldn't hurt these plants. So some plants you can pick up by their ponytail, if you will. Not a problem there. I'm going to come in with a double row and do a little bit of what we call triangular spacing. In other words, there's a triangle here. Front row. You set the front row along the bed curve to accent that line. Then the second line comes kind of to fill in the gap visually. Now I come from 2 lines, taper down to 1. That's where I'm going to end the Aztec. I don't want to outline everything with border grass. I mean, it's too predictable. My thought here really is to accent, if we can, this curve coming across the walk. Oops, see, I did pull one out of the pot there. Okay, don't do as I do. Do as I say. I'll fine tune this a little bit. I do like the color contrast with this Aztec and the lower pedalum. Oh, take a look at that 1 second, and then bringing into the picture this little bush daisy. This blooms all through the warm season, and it just keeps coming with buds. You see it's got buds in full bloom, and then some of these can be kind of cleaned out. So we use that as an accent. What a great little color combination. Can't wait to see just how it's all going to come together. You know, it's a great feeling when we get toward the end of a project. So I thought we'd take a moment and really catch up with a couple manufacturers' reps and talk about our decking. Friends, I want you to meet John Frost with Weyerhaeuser.
Hey, Gary.
John, thanks for joining us today. Tell us a little bit about Choice Deck.
Weyerhaeuser Choice Deck is a composite decking product made from polyethylene and wood fiber. The polyethylene is essentially garbage bags and milk jugs that are melted down at high extreme temperatures and mixed with wood fiber. The wood fiber specifically on this deck, the Choice Deck Classic, is cedar.
Okay.
The cedar is cleaned thoroughly out in a high sifting process and mixed in with the melted polyethylene, and it's extruded.
So, I mean, you've got like sawdust as a waste product, and then we know plastic bags and milk jugs are, if you can recycle them, more power to you. So you've combined those two things to make really a durable product. Huh?
It's a 100% recycled product.
And tell us again, so what would be some of the other advantages? We know that milk jugs don't rot, right. So when you're adding
it
that
is
to
definitely,
a decking product,
it's impervious to moisture. It will not rot.
Wow.
Insects, termites, they stay away from it. So what you have is a deck that is completely recycled and will withstand a lot of the problems that are associated with a wood deck.
Yeah, and again, it's a beautiful system too. I mean, I like the decorative, here the choice was the decorative spindles, but you even have a choice of that as far as it goes, huh?
You do, you have, it's basically a system, and you have the choice of a couple of different posts. You have two different size spindles. You have the round spindle that's used here, and you also have a square baluster that's used on the stairs going down.
We used on the steps, yeah, very good. John, now the homeowner has expressed maybe the opportunity to paint this product. Any problem there? No
problem at all. It's definitely a paintable product. You want to stay away from a non-water-based paint, and you want to give it just a little bit of a time, maybe a couple of months down the road. Let it silver out some, and then apply the paint.
Okay, you say silver out. What do you mean?
If you were to leave this deck in its current state, which is really what it's recommended, you know, the intended recommendation is to allow it to silver out to a driftwood silver in time. After probably 3 to 4 months, this deck that you see here will silver out to a driftwood silver.
Okay, I see the change in color already. So this has been exposed to the sun?
This is probably about 4 months in the sun.
Okay.
If you were to drive along the beach and see a house with cedar shakes that's been up for a couple of years, you'll see how it's weathered out.
Yes, okay.
That's exactly the look that you'll get.
So again, what I think I hear you saying is that once it achieves this weathering, then it doesn't go beyond that point. It kind of maintains its integrity.
It will silver out until a driftwood color, and then it will stay at that color.
And at that point, then it could be painted.
That's correct.
Okay, for the long term. Very good. Of course, I like the way it looks naturally.
I think so too. This product, when you go with these types of products, you are trying to achieve something with no maintenance. And that is what you have with this deck, no maintenance.
Exactly.
Gary, one of the big advantages of Choice Deck is an anti-skid surface. When it gets wet, of all the different competitive products that are out there, the composite, there's a bunch of them out on the market now. Of all the competitive products, this is the best product with regard to being able to keep traction on a deck, which is very important.
That is very important, sure, safety-wise, sure. I could say this too, that how long would we say this deck would be around versus wood?
Well, we have a 20-year warranty on rot and termite infestation.
Very good. And in the South here, I mean, wood just doesn't last.
That's right.
Unfortunately, but I think you've got a great product here, and really the application, a beautiful deck too.
Thank you.
Yeah, great job.
Okay.
So we continue with Alice DeLage. Alice, once I have this deck installed, what kind of maintenance do I need to consider?
There's very low maintenance on this product. You do not have to put the water sealer on the product. You don't have to paint it. You do have to clean it maybe once or twice a year.
Okay.
But for the most part, all you're going to do is enjoy this deck.
That's great. And availability around the country?
Any retail contractor sales can get this product. Just ask for Choice Deck.
Okay, that's good to know. So from Miami to Maine,
That's correct. Throughout the U.S.
you got it covered.
That's correct.
Now, we've continued the skirting around the deck to go all the way into the ground.
That's correct. That's no problem whatsoever with our product. Direct contact with soil or water is perfectly fine.
Soil or water?
That's correct.
So, I mean, what do you mean? It can be used for docking as well then?
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
We sell a lot of it to docks and marinas.
Now, for the homeowner that is going to do this himself or her themselves, I really like the railing system. It's kind of smart. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, the railing system is designed so it's easy to install. We have two rails that are identical on the top and the bottom, and you just install the balusters into the rails, and it's very easy to attach.
Wow, and so it's the same railing, just flipped, one on top or one on the bottom.
That's correct.
And there's two rails here. We've chosen the more decorative spindle for the homeowner's, really her option, but then we have a choice.
That's correct. We offer the turn spindle, which is very decorative, and then the square baluster. So the homeowner has a choice of different options.
Okay. I mean, I love the deck, the way it's come together. I know the homeowners have already started to enjoy it.
Yes.
Especially with we made it a little bit bigger, but to know that this is going to be around for years.
For years and years.
It really makes us feel good about it. Alice, thanks for coming out today.
Thank you.
Really helping us to appreciate the way new products have come along.
Well, we appreciate you using our product, and I'm sure that the homeowner is going to be very happy.
Ah, friends, really, what a great addition to the outdoor living space here. Anytime we can have the opportunity to do and enjoy a project like this, we always want to share it with you. I like the way the gold, little bush daisies there, the yellowish gold contrast with the magenta flower color of the loropetalum. And also yellow gold here, right at the step, we used a variegated ginger. It all works so well. Even the homeowner has taken some flowering plants, some geraniums and petunias, and placed them in corners to fill voids on the deck. And that works great. So, what do you say we take you back and rebuild this project from start to finish? Thanks for joining us on a wonderful outdoor project.